Hi everyone, my name is Chris Faye. I'm the author of the Disaster Crime series and my blog is titled Write with Faye. For this video I am going to answer a question that was submitted on my blog from a fellow blogger and a friend. So the question is, I'm curious to know what your own particular approach is to considering and making changes suggested by your editor and critique partners. Some writers think they have to make every single change suggested, which leads to writing by committee, while others take time to think about all the comments and then make the changes they feel are most merited. Other writers have still other styles. Where would you say you fall? Well, when it comes to my editing with my writing, when my editor makes suggestions, she might have a question about a specific scene. I then answer the question to maybe explain any confusion she might have. If she says that a sentence is awkward and to revise it, I revise it. If she says it's awkward, then a lot of other readers might feel that it's awkward as well. So that's something that is very easy to edit. If she has bigger suggestions, well, for my stories, I don't really have those big suggestions that might change a scene or a character or the story plot. But recently, I can give an example. My editor suggested that for my couple and my story to be trying to get pregnant, that 6 months isn't that long of a time for some of the word usage I was using, like feeling like it could be the heroine's fault. The heroine felt it was her fault. She was putting the blame on herself, and my editor felt that it was too soon for my characters to be feeling that they're at fault for the reason why they're not expecting a child yet. So that's something I hadn't really thought of. I had seen couples in real life go through this, and at the 6-month point, that is when they start to feel very disappointed and start really questioning and blaming. But I listened to my editor. My editor said that a lot of people, a lot of women would maybe not accept that at 6 months, a lot of that in my story of them putting the blame on themselves would make sense yet. So I changed my word choices around. She pointed out and, said that, she still had a little problem with it. So I fixed it. Everywhere she said that she had a problem with the dialogue or the narrative with that situation, I fixed it. Something like that is very easy to compromise on. And if your editor, mentions something like that, listen to it. Because if they have an opinion like that, then many other readers could have an opinion like that too. Some other little edits that I recently had, in my story, I had a word. It was just a word change, but it really tripped me up. I had the word pushed in my story for a specific sentence and action, and my editor changed it to pulled. And when I read that, it didn't sound right to me to have pulled in that sentence. And so I made a comment to my editor that I didn't think it sounded right. She replied back with the definition of pushed, basically saying that when I used it, it wasn't accurate. And, well, I felt pushed read better than pulled. But instead of creating, a further conversation about it, I compromised and I actually changed the word completely, even from her suggestion, to drew. So it took care of, the word choice, and it sounded good with the sentence. So definitely when you're working with an editor, you have to compromise. Like, they are working for you. They are working for your book. They want the best for you and for your story. So if they make a suggestion, you should really listen to it. You should, think it over, mull it over. You can even ask some other people, like beta readers or critique partners, like what they think about your editor's suggestion. But I definitely believe that if an editor suggests something, you should sit up and you should listen to it and try and look at it a little objectively. I know that can be hard. I mean, I was a little picky with changing pushed to pulled, but then I just sat back and I was like, okay, she has a problem with pushed, I have a problem with pulled, so I'll just change the word completely, and that fixed the problem on both sides. And it made my sentence good. It was actually, drew is a much better verb. So it ended up being better for both of us. When you work with an editor, do not work against your editor. Work with them, not against them. So if they have, a suggestion that you do not like, you do not have to take it. But what you can do is you can ask them about that suggestion and they can explain it. And after they explained it, you could end up seeing their point of view and realizing, okay, yes, that would work for my story. Or you could end up seeing, no, that would not work for my story. And if you tell your editor that nicely, then they can help you work through that and figure out a better solution for your story and for you. All suggestions are for your story. They are for you. You just have to figure it out if maybe you don't like the suggestion right away, and figure it out with your editor. When I edit for clients, I usually have quite a few suggestions for them to take, maybe for a specific scene or maybe for the overall story. And I want to read to you a couple of things that I have these documents that I like to send my clients when they're first-time clients so they can get to know my editing style. And one document that I send them is tips. So I wanted to read to you a couple of the things that I say to my clients. One, don't accept my changes right away. So if I mark up your story, as I most likely would, in red using track changes in Word, and I take out words or maybe I add in a few words, I don't want my clients to accept my changes right away. It would seem that's the easiest thing to do, to accept them all right away because I made them, your editor made them. But what I really want as your editor and you as my client is for you to go through each page to really see what I did. And when my editor sends me my stories back, I scroll through every single page to see what she cut out. It could be just some words, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. It could be a sentence. That's fine too, because some sentences you don't really need them. And that's why, sometimes when I cut out a sentence, I will put a comment in there for my client saying that it's not necessary or it's redundant or repetitive, so they know exactly why I'm cutting it out. But I go through every single page, and that's how I caught my editor had changed pushed to pulled. And that's how I caught that, because I went through instead of just, okay, my editor made these changes, so they're good. I don't need to look at them. But I do. I believe you should. And that's how you could catch something. Sometimes editors can even create typos. My editor made a little typo in her edits, and I know I've accidentally have made a typo in my edits. So that's why checking the edits that your editor does is smart. And it could help you catch maybe a tiny mistake they might have done, or you could catch something that maybe they changed but you don't really like. And then you could ask them about it, or you could change it back. Or this is what I like to do. If my editor maybe adds in a sentence, or if she takes out something from a sentence or rewords it even, I like to look at what she did, and then I like to take what she did but try and keep what I already had. So I blend my original sentence or words with hers. And like I said, that's compromise. I like to compromise. So it shows my editor too that I'm willing to accept her changes, and it makes me an easier, client for her. And that's something that you also want to try and be. They want to be a good editor for you. And you should want to try and be an easy client for them. So, make their job easier, and don't, create fights if you see something that they did. Approach things calmly, explain things, communicate, work through them, and by the end of that, you should both be very happy with, any suggestions or changes for your story. I want to read you a couple other things that I have and that I send to my clients when I edit for them. When I make a suggestion, I strongly, and I mean strongly, advise you to take that suggestion or, and this is the most important part, work off it to fix whatever it is that has a problem. For example, I may offer suggestions to make a scene better. This would require writing on your part. If I do a second round of editing for you, I do want to see those changes, however you decide to do them, in place. And I do also add, please don't take the easy way out and just write a sentence. If I make a suggestion, I hope to see more than a sentence to fix the scene or conversation. But I want to point out the most important things there. When I make a suggestion, you can take it or you can work off of it to fix it. So work off of it. You can maybe take the suggestion and change it to how you would like it or how it would work better for your story. And again, you make the changes how you decide to do them. So those are very key things. So like I said, even though I would like to see those changes done, it's up to the author how those changes are done. So I hope that answers the question. I really do believe that you, as the author, are in control of your story. You can make whatever changes you want, and you don't have to make whatever changes you don't want to make. But when you're working with an editor, work with them, not against them. Compromise, talk things through, and if they do have a suggestion, pay attention to that. Even if you don't exactly like their suggestion, you could probably figure out a way to make it work for your story or make it into a way that is just better for you, but would still be along the lines of following, what they suggest. If you have a question you would like me to answer, you can email me at chrisfey@yahoo.com. That's Chris, C-H-R-Y-S, Fey, F-E-Y. Thanks for listening. Bye.